1,000 miles from.
That means we're officially starting. Okay, well, welcome everyone to this month's AFP Lunch and Learn session. My name is Jenny Colvin. I'm the Chief Development Officer at Riverbend Food Bank. I also serve as the President-elect for our local chapter here, AFP Quad Cities. The mission of AFP is to advance philanthropy by enabling people and organizations to practice ethical and effective fundraising. In short, it exists to help you succeed. So thank you very much for being here and investing in yourselves today. As an added benefit to being a member of the local chapter, we do record our lunch and learn sessions. So this will be available on demand on our website after this. So please, if you get any nuggets that you from Gary and Sue that you don't record today, just know that they'll be all recorded electronically for you to watch every week if you want to. And then I just encourage you to visit our website and learn more about the benefits of being a chapter member. One of the benefits is what we're talking about today, which is about our advanced and introductory courses that Gary and Sue, for how many years now? For several years now, have headed up. How many?
Close to 15.
Close to 15. Let's give a round of applause for that. I know when I first started as a fundraiser several years ago, I did the intro course, and it was really, really helpful. So I'm really grateful that you guys are continuing to do that. I know a lot of people have really benefited from it as well. But also a lot of people don't really know about those courses. We vow to do a better job of promoting them in the future. But Gary, we've invited Gary and Sue here to come talk to us a little bit about those courses and give you all a chance to ask any questions that you might have in case you're interested in attending any of them. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Gary and Sue. I'm going to let them announce or share what the title of their presentation is, and we'll go from there. Thank you, Gary and Sue.
We'll do it or shut it. We're calling this Tips from Two Old Dogs with a combined 90 years of fundraising. And when we thought about it, I thought, oh, that's funny. And I thought, oh, crap, it's not. It's true. So here we go. All right. A little bit about, let's keep entering first. When I started out in fundraising, it was thrown in the deep end of the pool and then learn how to swim school of things. And I thought, nuts. So we had started, I took a proposal to the AFP board and said, let's have six, I think, then 90-minute sessions, each presented by somebody else in his or her field of expertise. It'll be free. And at the end of the series, I would give them a survey and say, where do you want help with grants, annual appeal, etc. And then we'd assign a mentor to them. And I did that, gosh, 8 or 9 years. And then Sue kindly took it over because it's a lot of work, and she made it better.
I would say, you know, when you listen to people and they have questions about things, you add more courses. So we're now up to 8, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into it. So Gary and I were charter members of this organization back in 1985, chartered, and it was NSFRE, and that was, I know, gosh, and back in the day, there was not a lot about mentoring. You kind of figured it out from just listening and learning. There wasn't a lot of one-on-one opportunity for people to chat with someone who had been doing it for a while, because there weren't that many people who had been doing it for a while. We learned a lot. I know I learned a huge amount. For those of you who remember Howard Brereton, who was a fundraising consultant in the community. The first thing was he scared the bejeebies out of me. But it turned out that he was just a huge teddy bear. And he, a lot of the things that I still do today, I learned from him. And so if I would say that I had a mentor, it would have been Howard, and probably Ray German, who also. So the way that we thought we would do this today, we'll kind of end with, actually, I've got the schedule of courses, and we'll kind of end with that. just seeing a lot of your faces. I know that you've been on in the classes. We converted the intro classes to Zoom, and during, whoever heard of Zoom before, COVID, but, we converted, and it turned out that there were a lot more people who could participate in the intro class because of it being online. And we have had as many as 35 in the intro courses from all over the country. And actually we had somebody from Canada one year. We had one from Great Britain, because they were looking for interesting time issues, but they were looking for the opportunity for a free class, and it popped up. So whoever's managing the website is doing a great job, because it is out there and it popped up.
Can I make one observation too about when the chapter was new in 1985, and it was small, so you kind of got to be on the board if you were doing it. We used to say, we need to find a woman to be on the board. There aren't any women in development. Look around this room. It has changed, my
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
Used to be pretty pale and male. And it's come a long way, so that's a good thing for the profession.
Absolutely. All right, so we decided, rather than just talking about classes, that we have to, we like to talk. So 90 years of experience, maybe we've got some nuggets to share with you. So we decided on a dozen little tips that we have for funding that we thought might be helpful. So Gary's going to take the lead on them, and I'll chime in with some thoughts.
All right, and make it very interactive, because if we knew everything, we'd be making tons of money, like everything else. And we're not, so here we are. So first thing is, in your organizations, and a little bit about my background. I worked for Bethany for Children and Families for 19 years. My last job was at Western Illinois University Applied Studies for 6 years. And I had it at the right time in my career, because we had an $8 million goal. I raised that in 6 years and retired, and so that's enough of that. And I'm flunking retirement, so I still do other things. I worked for Girl Scouts for a couple of years. I worked for United Way for a couple of years. I've been on 8 or 9 different nonprofit boards, because people, and you all get that from people. You work in fundraising, you should be on our board. And now I get to say no, because I work in foundations. So in any case, so this is a variety of different size development offices, and oftentimes, as many of you, it was me and one other person if I was lucky, oftentimes just me. So number one, have a development plan and publicize it within the organization. Let senior management know. You could even let your staff know the major points. That well-meaning person will come to you if it happened to be in 3 different settings. I know a group that wants to have a chili supper and a hot dog roast, and we could do that in November. And I would say, do you mean November of 24? Oh, no, this November. No, this doesn't work like that. Thank you for thinking of that. Let's put it in our plan for next year. And also, and you don't have to respond to this, but you're going to have a crazy boss along the way. I have one. And who would flutter in and say, let's do this, let's do that. I said, here's the plan. Here's what we're doing. Another thing is, it keeps you on track. If you are also the grant writer, build all your grant deadlines into it. Every year, since I've been in foundation land, organizations that we have funded for years just blow past the deadline. And we use that founded electronic system. It cuts you off at 11:45 p.m. on the due date, and I can't fix it. So there is that. It helps you if you are, and we'll get to some other things that you do. But if you do an annual appeal, if you do a spring appeal, put in some major donor stuff, and we'll talk about that. But it gives you a real good track to run on.
Okay, well, I'm the devil's advocate in that conversation, because you guys, who knows me, okay? Gosh, it sounds like it's something that really would benefit my organization. Doggone it, we're gonna find a way to do it. So having a plan is really, really important, particularly when you're a small organization. But I'm the person that's gonna say, be ready to pivot. Because sometimes things just present themselves and, you have to be ready to take advantage of those things. And he'd be the, no room for that, and I'd be the, oh,
I think a healthy balance between the two is if it aligns with your strategic plan.
Yeah.
And if you have the resources and the capacity to do it, then I want to pass that.
It depends on the opportunity. I got a call one time at Bethany, one of those out of the blues. Thomas Kincaid, the painter of light. I hope I'm not offending anybody. They crappy paintings and people love them. And it would be in the Sunday supplements and so on. Had a shop at South Park. And we got a call out of the blue. Thomas Kincaid's gonna be here. And I'm looking for a worthy organization, and you were the first one I saw in the phone book. I boogied out to South Park and met with them. He came in, there were like 200 people in the Holiday Inn. It was amazing. And people that I knew who said, I'm buying these for a retirement. I thought, oh my God, you're gonna be homeless, but okay. But what he did was a sketch on the spot. They auctioned it and gave us the proceeds, and it was $17,000. So heck yes, I gave up a Saturday to do that, and heck yes, I pivoted. So to her point, of course you want some flexibility, but if you came to me right now and said in January, we want to have a gala banquet, I'd say, hold the cold cloth in your head, because we ain't doing it. So balance is the key.
okay.
Are you okay?
You just keep saying. I have no. I have no.
This is not since 1985, you ain't saying nothing new.
So, I mean, I traveled for August, so I worked at Augustana for 38 years and did, like everything you could do in development, I did during my time, but the last 15 years I was a gift officer and traveling. And I would be out on a trip and somebody would have this really great thing that if we could just do this, it would, really, really be different. And then I would have to call Ann and say, hey, can we do this? And, I became the person in the office that if it was the right thing to do, we were gonna find a way to make it happen, because sometimes things just do present themselves. But now that I am at KSI and I am it for development, I too failed. I retired from Augustana and intended to make my KSI gig a retirement.
Don't come to us for retirement.
And so, I have had to take a hard look at the plan that I have, because when you are it, which for a lot of us, we are it, and you have grants and you have events, and you have appeals, and they all have to be on your schedule, there's just so much time in the day. I haven't found a way for, there to be more than 24, and I do have to get an hour before.
Just one more on that, then we'll move on. So this wasn't my experience, but a nonprofit in Muscatine, a board member, was all about her birds. She had canaries and stuff. And she said, let's order 1,000 pounds of bird seed, and that'll be a great fundraiser. And the development director said, oh, okay. And they sold about 50 pounds. It was dumped on the dock of where they were. And the mice and the rats and squirrels were so grateful. So your development plan gives you a track to run on. And you're right, it's both and, it's not an either kind of thing. Okay, number 2, no substitute for building relationships, just as good at it as anybody. It takes time, consideration, and empathy. Treat your donor the way you would like to be treated yourself. That's pretty straightforward, but and we'll get to a handwritten note, something I've told the introductory class. If you have somebody on staff or a couple volunteers who like to do this, I had surprisingly good success with this. I had 5 board members at Bethany. I would give them the donor, Ann Calder sent us a gift for $50. Here's their phone number. Just call them and say thank you. If they have questions, you send them to me. You don't have to, I tried to say it nicely, you don't have to interpret our programs and policies. Because inevitably people say, I know somebody who wanted to make an adoption from you and it didn't work. But I said, that's what I get paid to do. It was hugely successful. They were happy to do it after people were stunned when they picked up the phone and said, I'm John Tweed, who's now a judge. John loved to do it. He got out about 10 a month. John Tweed from Bethany for Children and Families, just calling and say, thank you for your gift. Wow, it's 2 minutes out of your time. So that's one thing. There are lots of things, and Sue was fabulous at it.
So if you sat in on my annual giving segment in the class, one of the things that I always say to people is the biggest gift that you can give to your organization is giving them some time, some longevity. You can't build relationships with folks overnight, and having met with people at Augustana who shared with me their confusion about who do I talk to, because I've had 5 different people in the last 7 or 8 years who have reached out to me. I had people that would contact me at the college who I really didn't know, but they recognized my name because I at least was a name they'd seen before. And so the whole trust factor that's rolled into being at an organization for a while, so that people know that you're somebody that they can turn to when talking about an organization is huge for your organization. The connections that you can make when you start to get to know people, and it's incredible when you actually start to have those relationships with people, what they will tell you, and who they will introduce you to. I got to know more things about folks than I ever would have imagined. That I know more about them than I did about my personal friends, because they feel that you are a representative of an organization, and they will start sharing with you about their passions and their interests. And so that relationship building, you absolutely cannot advance your organization without having some individuals that you're doing that with.
And just a little extra to that, I worked with 5 different presidents at Bethany, but I was the constant, so people would call me. What are you doing about it? If it was something that I could answer and keep my job, I'd say blah, blah, blah. And sometimes I'd say, you have to talk to the president. Well, we want to talk to him or her. And I said, no, you have to talk to him. I really like getting my paycheck twice a month. So there's that. Next, learn to manage up. I think that's really important. And I don't think we think about it enough as development officers. Report what you use, and again, you can use your development plan as the base, but report to the executive director or the CEO of your organization what's going on, to the management team. I've been in 3 organizations where we had quarterly or every other month all staff meetings. I'd say we've gotten a grant from A, B, and C. We're doing this appeal. We had major dips without saying from X, Y, and Z, and here's what's coming up. You keep them informed and you make them part of what's going on and give them an investment. And one little thing too, they say, oh, you're going out to beg for money today. And I said, no, I'm going out to get people to invest in the good work that you do that helps make this possible. So we don't have to depend just on the state of Illinois, the state of Iowa, United Way, no fun offense to anybody, but those things all change. But if you can keep a steady stream going, good for you. So,
Well, no surprises. That's the key. I always try to keep that in the back of my head. At Augustana, when I was out traveling, I would have donors that would tell me things, or they would provide comments to me about their feelings about different things. And I certainly did not want my supervisor or even the president of the college to run into a buzzsaw. And so I made sure that a lot of times, you know, on my back from my trip, I was calling and saying, hey, you need to be aware of this, just in the event that they would have a conversation. That now, for me at CASI, a perfect example, I am working on a major event, fundraising event. Our CEO at CASI has, for the last 10 years, kind of been the manager of that event. This year, we have someone who's chairing it, who is out there doing her own thing. I'm aware of what she's doing, but I've got to make sure that our CEO is aware of every step along the way, so that she's not out there saying something that runs differently than what our event chair is saying or doing.
And no offense to anybody, but that's kind of like negotiating peace in the Middle East sometimes.
Well,
Oh.
in this case it is. But I do have to, I just had the conversation this morning. I have a regular standing meeting with our CEO to go in and say, here's what we're working on. If something here flies in your face, you've got to tell me right now, so I can put a stop to it. Just so that there's no out there, they're both in the news, they're both around groups of people, and they have to be speaking the same language. So really, really important.
One more along those lines, when I was at Western toward the end of my time there, I made an appointment with my boss, who was the VP for the, and I said, I've got 5 things I need to talk to you about. He was in a cranky mood that day. Well, I want to hear community gossip. And I said, this isn't community gossip. So Western's Board of Trustees was appointed by the governor. One person appointed was somebody who had been a former congressman in that district, who was very pro-union and was leading demonstrations against Wells Fargo Bank and other places. And I said, I got punched in the nose by 2 places, and I want you to know that. Well, I don't need to know that. I said, yes, you do. One of the things you pay me to do is be out there in the community. If I'm not out there learning what's going on, I'm not doing my job. So don't shoot the messenger, bucko. I was ready to retire anyway. So but that is a role you can play. You have to figure out how, and I used to say it more gently, I was at the end. But you have to learn how to do that and how to navigate that, because you are going to hear things that go on. And that's part of what you do if you're out there doing what you're supposed to do. So.
Okay.
Next one. Well, we kind of did this. Special events have a place in fundraising, but don't make it the sole prop of what you're doing. A story we were talking about earlier. I had been on the board of the Rock Island Parks Foundation, and they like to do wine tastings and golf outings. And I said, let's just start to do an annual appeal. And let's target 20 people who are regular donors, and I'll do a little training with the board, and I'll even suck it up and agree to go out with them, and we'll ask them for either monthly gifts or larger gifts, and target some things that you need, pieces of equipment or programs or whatever meets their types. No, we don't want to do that, it's too much work. I said, how about a mail appeal to your regular donors? They did berries for charity. And I said, we could do that maybe in March or so. Park season is cranking up. You could do scholarships for kids who can't afford to pay. Again, you always need equipment. No, we don't want to do that. Then COVID happened. Ooh, no more fundraising for them. And one more fundraising horror story of Western. I had won WQPTs to have a major event at the end of January. And so one night in the live auction, I had 2 glasses of wine and did the opening bid. And, a night, let's see, it was a party room at the President Riverboat Casino when it was still on the shoreline. They had a new room, it would accommodate 75 people, and you got a $750 food allowance. So Linda Rowe, who's lived through too many of these things, went, boom, now what are you gonna do with it, smart boy? So the next night, we went to the Quad City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce fundraising. And I had recruited, my boss at the time loved to buy tables, but then not go. So Linda and I would be two people at a table of 8. So he bought a table. I went to some of the young people and said, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, kind of corporate casual, but go, it's a different thing. And so we had a table full and they got some experience with that. And I said, let me float the crackpot idea, blah, 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 I got this. Let's do it as a fundraiser for minority student scholarships at Western. We'll partner with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, with LULAC, and with the NAACP chapters. We did that, it was gonna be at that boat, and we had it all, and we had the capacity filled, and it was all good, got a couple sponsors and had a silent auction. And the night of the event, the place was underwater, there was a spring flood. The riverboat called and said, but we are now allied with Bettendorf, we're gonna put you in the Bettendorf Casino, we got this place walled off, it's not smoking. I spent the day on the phone, calling and sending emails and salvaged it. We netted about $7,500, but it was the start, it was partnerships we needed to build. And it's why I don't like events that much. You have to learn how to make lemonade out of lemons, but it's gonna happen to you.
The best thing that I take away from special events, it doesn't seem like we ever raise enough money to cover the sweat equity that goes into them. However, and I'm going back to the relationship, building relationships with the sponsors, and can turn into really great things for your organization. Not just from the corporate standpoint, but we've had some sponsors where the individuals at the companies have become donors themselves, and that has been incredibly beneficial. And they're necessary evils. They are friend builders, and I think we need them for that reason.
Absolutely right.
Can I add something about sponsorships and events is, you know, I feel like our organization spends a lot of time trying to figure out all the things we thought sponsors would want from coming to our event or do whatever. But if you take the time to understand and like have the conversation with sponsors, like what do you want out of this? You know, like what benefits, what appeal to you, and sort of customizing those sponsorships has been super successful for us. So that would be a recommendation I think.
That's great, thank you. And one feed off that. Go out and it's probably you who has to do it. Go out and meet with your board members individually and ask them for their gift every year. Because if they're not making a gift every year, they shouldn't be on your board. That's part of the deal. And you will find, you'll be stunned with what they don't know about your organization. But one-on-one, it's an opportunity for them to say, tell me about this teen parent program, or, you know, what is this service that you provide? And you could go into that, or somebody told me this is this. It's a safe time for them to ask questions and not be embarrassed in front of their peers. And it's really valuable, and plus you owe them that respect as board members. It's good time. And then you can go back to the ED and CDO and say, we got 100% board giving, here we go, so.
Okay, sure.
Okay, don't shoot the messenger. You will never raise enough money to make everybody happy, ever. Here is my horror story. At WIU Quad Cities, we're starting an engineering program. They and it was going to be based in the Quad Cities. It is based in the Quad Cities. Within a 60-mile radius of the campus, there were 15,000 engineering jobs. About 50% of those were going to be vacant within 5 years because it was baby boomers who are getting ready to retire. A good source in engineers make nice money, they're good alumni, it's a student attractor, etc. The governor of Illinois at the time was Rod Blagojevich, later known as federal prisoner number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Money was appropriated, he would not release it, so the program couldn't get started. We worked on an intricate relationship with the Mullane Foundation and the John Deere Foundation, got $1 million gift. I just told you what consumed about 9 months of my life. And some of you will know, gifts of that magnitude, you spend like an hour for every $10,000, but it's okay. So we had a big whoop-de-doo, we announced it, when the papers used to cover local news, they covered it. It was a big deal. It was the largest gift that campus had ever gotten. It got the engineering program off the ground. Indeed, it was the largest single gift that the university got that year. It was a major thing. So I'm in my office about 3:30. I made some phone calls, and here's a fun tip. When you get a nice gift, call people for appointments. Don't say, I just got a big gift, they can hear it in your voice. So, Jeff, just wanted to say, we've been wanting to get together next Tuesday morning or Wednesday afternoon, work for you, that kind of thing. So I'm making appointments, and I've got some paperwork to do, and my boss comes in, all right, where's the next gift coming from? And I said, you need to let me feel good about this for 1 hour. Just give me an hour to wallow in this. And I better out. So, and at Bethany, our annual, when I worked there, the annual budget was about 3.5 million, and I typically raised 350 to 375. It was 10% of our budget. They're bigger now, so it won't be as much. Never enough. Well, if we had more fundraising, well, how about if damn social workers get out and did the paperwork but went to solve people? I'm not the biggest earner here, but anyway, I give you that, my friends and colleagues. AFP has served that purpose in my life for almost 40 years. We can get together and tell those stories and say, yeah, I know how it is. Your turn.
My one addition to that would be you have to have really broad shoulders for this, because that's gonna happen time and time again, where you can get all excited about that. And I think about you, because
Looking at me, what are you?
I do.
That seems like every single right here. That's right.
This guy is the master at, complimenting everyone else in the world for the successes that are coming to the manor. And he's bringing in some like super things that are happening, at the manor. And, it just, it's like he says it and then he's got to move on. And that's the way it is in our profession, that you get that really big gift, you feel super great about it, and you just have to say, okay, now on we go, because there just is, our organizations always are in need.
You gotta learn how to push your own buttons too.
Yeah.
I've had the occasion 3 times where organizations finished that gift and 2 big capital gifts, and they had a celebration. I wrote scripts for them. I didn't put myself in it, and that was just fine, because they never mentioned me, and I think, how did you think this was gonna happen? But you have to be willing to stand in the back of the room with your arms folded, and just remember, success has 1,000 fathers and failure is an orphan. So you just get your own satisfaction from it.
You guys have pointed at me 3 times. Can I say something? But basically what Gary had said earlier, and then after that, I think it's pathetic and demoralizing when people say, are you out there begging for money today? Talk about, a demoralizing thing to say to a fundraiser. And then to say, what are you gonna do for me next? And I just want to say to all of you that not everybody can raise money, but your jobs are valuable and few can do it. So despite what bosses and board members and general public might say about you, you're extremely valuable, and don't forget it. And that's the value of AFP. We remind ourselves, we're sort of our support group, if you will. I've been a part of 3 professional associations in my 45-year career, and this one is by far the best, because when you do well, it raises all the water levels. When you do well, it raises all the water.
Yeah.
So just if nobody else is telling you today, let me be the one to tell you that your job is more valuable than you're being paid. And don't never forget it.
So back in the eighties, when we started, one of the reasons that we wanted to become affiliated here in the Quad Cities was there was literally a group of like 15 of us who, were what we considered to be professional fundraisers in the area. And fundraising was, number one, everybody thought that you walked around with a great big F on your forehead that said, I'm a fundraiser. And
$4.
that was the common terminology, was you always got your hand out. And so if you went back and you looked at the Quad City Times back in 85, 86, 87, when we were first becoming established as an organization, there's a lot of editorials, there's articles that were written. Gary authored one, I authored one, Ray German authored one, where we were trying to explain to people what it is that we do and what fundraisers do for this community and how people are better in the community because of the funds that we are raising for the organizations that we represent. And it took a long time for that to become what we are today. It's taken years, but it is an entirely different profession now. Those of you who know Ray German, Ray was someone who, and I learned this terminology, and you probably have heard me say it, that fundraising is not a job, it is a career, it is a profession, and we need to have people that look at it as such. Hardly any of us, and now there are professional places where you can go. I know that Jenny went to school and has a master's in nonprofit fundraising, yes. But when Gary and I started out, when Jeff, well, you were an accountant, so that was different. But you know, I was a teacher.
I was a journalism major. I was going to be an editorial writer for the New York Times. I needed a job.
Okay, so nobody
Well,
came
let's just bring it. We needed to make money.
nobody back in the day came to fundraising
That was
from
my first career.
a direct shoot. That's changed now. And so, but you still have to have an appreciation for who we are and what we do and why we do it. And, you know, that word invest and, you know, talking to people about their passions, donor centric, those are things that have all come about in fairly recent time. Okay, go.
Next up, everyone in your organization is part of the development team. It's not just you. Here's a recent story that just rang my chimes. At the Quad City Botanical Center, a director for the last 2-3 years, this guy named Ryan William. Ryan told me this story and they use it. So they had a lady come to the development or to the Botanical Center. She'd been in a plant. She lived in Chicago in an apartment, retired into a home in Rock Island. Brought this plan in, just found a guy working and said, I have this plan, I don't know what to do with it. He spent a good 10 minutes with her. This is a so-and-so, and you overlitter it this way, and you can do this and do that. She came back another time, that was about this time of year, and said, tell me about this winter nights, winter lights. Oh, said the person at the front desk, it's these days, and these days, tickets cost this much. You might want to come on this night, it's busier, or these nights are less busy. Here's what you do, you have a chance to get cocoa, blah, blah, blah. She came one more time and talked to somebody in the botanical garden and asked some questions, and they were very responsive, 3 different persons. So Ryan had gotten the lead in his head, smartly, had lunch with this lady, and they're doing a cool new program, plants on a bus. They have bought a bus and are having a traveling greenhouse, so they can go to schools. Ryan said, everybody wants to come here on May 15th and bring their 5th and 6th grade classes. So they believe they can double the amount of students. So I said to this man, with this woman, and said, blah, 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 your relationship with us. And today I'm going to ask you for $25,000. And she said, oh no, dear, and his face fell, and she said, I'm giving you $100,000 because I was treated so well. Now, I'm not saying that's gonna be replicated for you, but it could have been, oh no, dear, because I came and asked questions and they treated me like a pest. And sprayed me with DDT and told me to go away. So the person who answers the phone, everybody, the people who are out doing your direct service work, trying to view that in their heads.
So my situation is that at KSI, my office is way in the back. I spend so much time in my office, so I've got to have people who are out front where folks are coming in, who are aware of what to listen for. So I have sessions with our front desk staff, with some of the people that are out teaching some of the classes, about what I'm trying to accomplish fundraising wise. And I've given them kind of a cheat sheet of here's some things to listen for. And some of the people that have gone from being non-supporters to now giving $1,000 a year to the organization have come because someone has come back and said, hey, I heard so-and-so talking about this. And then I follow up and give that person a call and we go out to lunch and suddenly we've got a donor. So making the people who are on the front lines at your organization aware of what to listen for is very important. You can't do it yourself.
And it's first cousin, the next one up is listen for clues when you were talking to somebody. And believe it or not, I can just shut up and listen. Just listen, you know, that old saying, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you can listen twice as much as you can talk. Do that. Listen to what they are saying. They will give you clues about what matters to them. And I guess one thing when you start out, you think, who's your potential donors? Oh, everyone in the world. No, they're not. No, they're not. So you have to start to narrow that down. Who cares about the arts or children or the elderly or whatever your thing is? But you start to learn that and work with your niche donors.
I do a lot of listening. I always have done a lot of listening. It is the probably the best attribute that you have, is to listen to what people have to say and find the things that they're saying that fit into what you're doing and make that connection for them, where you can see them having an impact.
You're up next.
Okay, my next one is, follow your spidey sense. And don't give up if you get that tingle. Anne knows what I'm talking about. There are just some people that particularly if you are a small staff and you just don't have a lot of people to be able to keep track of lots and lots of folks, you may get thoughts from your higher up that, you know, just move on because that person's not worth you investing your time. But if you get that spidey sense that person, that there is potential there, and a lot of time has come from listening to them. My best example was, there was a fellow who I knew from the time I graduated from Augustana. So he actually was in school with me. He had a very successful position, but he had 5 kids and he had to get them all through school. And then grandkids started coming, and every time I would visit with him, and I tried to see him once a year on my travels, he would share with me that, you know, as soon as I get my kids through school, or as soon as I get my grandkids set up, Augustana is on my list because I love the place. I had a great experience, etc. And I was told numerous times by others that move on, you know, and I did not move on. I kept, I would still make him one of my visits, and his birthday was coming up. I sent him a card. I just kept in touch. If I saw something I thought was something that would be of interest to him. When I announced that I was retiring from Augustana, one of the phone calls that I got was from him. And he said, I have to tell you before you leave that we have been to our estate plan and we're giving $100,000 to Augustana to our estate. And he said, it's only because you kept me informed. And that is one of my Spidey sense stories for my time. So if there's somebody that you just get that sense that there's potential there for your organization, do what you can within the time that you have to just make sure you stay in front of them.
Next up, trust is fragile and it's one of your greatest assets. As you develop relationships with your donors, they will tell you incredibly personal things. The kinds of things they tell their pastor or their bartender or their beautician, but they will share with you. And I indeed have had that experience. And in fact, I had bosses who said, what did brother? I said, I'm not telling you. You want to find out, you talk to them. You have to have that. If it's once broken, it's really hard to repair. So just be a sphinx. Tell your spirits, tell your steering wheel if you must tell somebody, but don't reveal it. And I had somebody come to me and say, why did this end? I had it in two settings, at Bethany and at Western. I learned very specific things. And the VP at Western came to me and said, why? I said, Mr. So-and-so, he always made a gift this size. And I said, there's some family issues. What are they? He said, he told me not to reveal it. He just told me what they were. Loves the university. He's still going to give, just at a much lower level this year with everything that's going on. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay, the little things matter. Things that may seem inconsequential to others can be incredibly important ways for you to stay connected. I kept a running list, and I've started now at KSI, but at Augustana, and I still keep in touch with some of these people. Birthdays, anniversaries. For a lot of people, their pet may be their family. I used to have 2 or 3 people that I would send cards when it was their pet's birthday. And let me tell you, they remembered and they were generous to Augustana, and I have to believe that part of it was because somebody just paid attention to the little things. Making
That's why
sure
Sue's
they're,
better at this than I am. I drew the line at pets.
yeah, I know. Just, you know, one of the things, Anne is a master of this, and she actually taught me to keep an eye out, because when she was working with me at Augustana, she would see something that would come across that a student was doing or something that was happening in the department, and she would just hit me and say, hey, I think maybe one of your donors that you have working on this might appreciate this. And then I would get to be the hero by sending it to them and saying, just thought that this would be something you'd be very interested in. So we all have things going on at our organizations. Think about, you know, 1 or 2 people that might just be that little thing. And your role is to stay in front. You know, when someone's time is ready for them to make a gift, you want them to think of you.
And let me add to that too. Communicate with your donors when you're not asking them for anything. You've all got good news stories to tell. You're all doing good work. Use email, use handwritten notes. If you know the person and know their style, maybe a newspaper clipping, but that's pretty outdated now. But one thing I had some success with was an emeritus board of former board members. People serve on nonprofit boards of directors and go away. So you have an honorary board or an emeritus board. Send them an email 2 or 3 times a year. We'd have a continental breakfast for them and said, here's what's up, here's what's new. What they really liked was wine and cheese, but we couldn't serve that. Maybe you have your annual report and said, we want you to see that first. Sometimes you have some hot news about a big grant or something, and are sharing this with you as we go public because you're so important to us.
This one is such an important one, and it doesn't have to be like a big thing.
No.
Like, I remember when during COVID, I'm at the food bank and we shut our doors to everyone. We didn't even let volunteers come in and like pack boxes, but our staff was outside or in the warehouse for like 10 hours a day packing boxes to get out to people, right? And it was grueling, but I just remember worrying like, okay, I'm not talking to my donors, like what does that mean? And I just remember I came in for a break and I just like had my core list, my portfolio. I just shot him a quick email like, hey guys, no need to respond. I just wanted to let you know what's going on here. And it was just like a very brief email. And the response that I got from that was amazing. And so that just was for me, because you're still being authentic. It doesn't have to be some branded, beautiful marketing piece. It's just a simple email. I know if I was a donor and a loyal supporter, that's what I would want to just hear how everybody's doing, you know? And so it was really powerful. So it's an important one.
That's
Little
great.
things do matter.
Thank you. I can think of 3 or 4 organizations that send their monthly newsletter to Rock Island Community Foundation. Yes, they do go and see the headlines to see what you're doing. Yes, they do know. Here's this money.
Gary, you talk about newspaper articles, back when I started business a long time ago. He was sending newspaper. If you've ever been in the paper, when you get somebody sending you the newspaper article, it's pretty affirming, you know, and it's a little heady. And, but I'm telling you.
They send you articles on people that aren't you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just telling you that, and I think it was in Monday's paper, there was a wonderful story about IMAG and Paul Van Dyne. Okay, and IMAG's only made one gift to the mayor. Okay, I've never met Paul Van Dyne. But I've been sending notes to Paul Van Dyne, emails to Paul Van Dyne for about 5 years now. Paul thinks he knows me. Now, and this is a guy that's got 2,400 employees. It's an $800 million, I mean, it's a huge company. He doesn't know me, but he's sending me a thank you for sending him an attaboy for the article in the paper. He doesn't even know me. He's got no need to send me a thank you note, but I impressed him enough. So I'm saying, don't miss that opportunity because it's a freebie.
Yeah.
Honestly, sometimes those calls, when you call to communicate the non-ask, hey, our impact report is out, just wanted to see if you had any questions, you get a very, I don't have any money for you right now. I'm like, I'm actually not asking for anything. I'm just telling you this. And then the conversation lightens up a little bit, and then the next appeal, they give double because they felt bad for how they responded.
At least take your phone call the next time. If every time you call, it's to ask for money.
Yeah.
That trust.
Yeah.
Oh, one quick thing on phone calls too, and this is around the list. When I was doing corporate calls for WIU, I had the names of all the administrative assistants. Because you moved it through faster. So, you know, hi Sue, this is Gary from, you know, how are your kids doing? We're talking about when we're starting home. They are people. They want to be, and guess what? Your calls get through. It's a little manipulative, but it also treat them like you want to be treated.
Okay, the final one I have before I want to just touch on this a bit is, look for those people that are raising their hands. And if you've done my annual giving class, you heard me talk about this before, but sometimes you're not paying attention, that, you know, the gifts are coming in and you're watching the gifts, and then all of a sudden something comes in that's out of the ordinary. Follow up on that, because that person might be throwing up their hand and saying, hey, notice me. I had that situation with Augustana where I had someone who was a very, very consistent but minor donor, and they multiplied their gift 100 times over, and it came in, and I reached out and, you know, thank you. And she said, I need somebody to visit me. It took sending you that much of a larger gift for you to realize that I am out here and I need to visit with someone. She's now on our board. So starting with that, it went me flying to North Carolina and having a conversation, and giving started growing because she was being noticed. It was the most uncomfortable visit. She worked for a major corporation. I had no idea. She was their HR director for V Corporation, which owns Victoria's Secret, Wrangler jeans, etc. I walked into this fancy office. Do you remember this story? I sat down with her, she sat like this and looked at me and she said, it took me sending a larger gift for someone, for you to realize that you had an alum sitting out here who was as successful as I am. So it was a kind of an uncomfortable conversation, but we got past it and she is now a major donor. So.
And what
look
you
for
said,
those
that
people.
wasn't me, that was Ann Calder, that was her job. And it didn't happen, no.
Yeah, no.
You just say, I apologize.
I
And the
fell
rush
on
of
many
things we learned
swords.
to, and that takes me to one of my favorites. No gift is too big, no gift is too small. Treat the $5 donor with respect and deference and gratitude because it's just the right thing to do. But those have a way. Had once a donor who gave us $5 every year at Bethany. And when she died, left the contents of her household to Bethany. She had no survivors. And they sold it and it was $3,000 and it was a gift bigger than she ever would have made in her life. I didn't solicit it. She said they were always polite and kind to me. You know, she left that instruction with her executor, so you never know.
Here, I'll just comment on a situation that occurred over the last couple of days as well. Humility is a very attractive feature, and I don't have a lot of it. But I had a lady send me an email saying, my dad died 2 weeks after my mom. You sent a plant for mom and not for dad. What, somebody dropped the ball. And I was like, well, it had nothing to do with me. And so I immediately responded and said, you know, I don't handle that well. Let me look into it. And, you know, come to find out, the person who did it saw the same last name and thought I'd already sent that one. Just kind of a simple mistake. Probably shouldn't have been made, but it got made. And so I said, you know, this is what happened and this, sorry, personally and professionally. She says, oh, it's okay, you know, I understand, you know, it's like, so she went from kind of caustic to, and so humility is
You,
attractive.
you get really used to when you're in this profession, falling on the sword. Even though you may have not have had anything to do with the situation. And people do appreciate when you say, I am so sorry, I apologize.
I wouldn't do it in that situation, because I don't know if that'll ever happen to you again, but, like if a mistake happens and a donor actually, I think about the donors that get frustrated and don't call, but the ones that do, and it's something that changes the process to make
Yeah.
something better.
Yeah.
I always thank them, you know, this
You
is
bet.
what happened,
Yeah,
this is what we
right.
did to fix it, and thank you, because, you know, now we can make it better for the next.
I'd rather have the
Exactly.
conversation than not.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so you have, the schedule of education, opportunities that our, chapter provides each year, and the intro class, how many of you have done the intro class?
Wow.
Okay, yeah, nice. Okay. Brooke, you were one of the last ones to do it in person, I think.
And we might have finished virtually
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
so.
in Sue's kitchen.
COVID. But we are in the middle of the first course here. You'll see that tomorrow morning, Angie Kendall will be up on boards and volunteers. It really is an excellent series. When we started this series, we patterned it off of the CFRE intro, well, not the intro class, review class that you take before you sit for the CFRE exam. So, we patterned it off of that. We have added, plan giving and donor relations and stewardship over the last few years. So I would encourage you, if you haven't, it is free. Thursday mornings, always, 8:30 to 10, and we're gonna continue doing that one by Zoom. And then we start the advanced classes. They're, for a member, it's 35, I believe. And for a non-member, maybe 50. Yeah, something like that. And, we're starting this year. We had demand, a request for a course, an advanced course on special events. So Brooke, who is a master at events, is going to lead us off in December. I do an annual giving, a deeper dive into the annual giving or annual fundraising. In January, Gary does the major gifts. one in February, March, and Jocelyn does, donor relations and stewardship. We're adding a planned giving segment this year. I don't have a date yet for that. Scott Park, who is with the Genesis Foundation, is going to do that for us this year. And then, I'm waiting to hear back from Amy Jones. She does an excellent, 2-session course on corporate and foundation giving. So keep watching the website for those. As if you are, we call the intro classes a mentor, class, because if you complete that class, you do have the opportunity to be matched with a mentor. And, that's one of the, I've always said that is one of the most fulfilling, parts of what I do, is the opportunity to pass something along to someone. So I have people that I have been mentoring for 10 or more years, who still send me an appeal and say, hey, can you take a look at this? And what am I missing? Or, which is really, really fun. I have a lady in Montana, who works on an Indian reservation, who took the class virtually during the COVID years. And, I regularly get things from her. And then that's just really fun because it's so outside of, anything that I do. So also, if you have, a world of experience that you'd like to share with others, at the end of this class, we've got 7 right now going through the class. I'm always looking for, mentors who can take someone on and just keep in touch with folks and see how they're doing, Jeff. So what else do you have?
Just one final thought. Do this within the confines of your own personality, your own style, of course. This is what worked for me. Sue did things a little differently that worked for her. We were both successful, but you are doing important work. Don't ever let them tell you otherwise. And keep it up.
Round of applause. Very much. So yeah, got the handout, but just so you know, everything will be posted on our website, and we'll be sending out communications as well. So keep an eye out for that. If you don't receive our emails, please make sure you subscribe, because there is really good information locally on what's happening with our chapter. I know we're a little over time, so if you have to go, please do. But does anyone have any questions for Gary and Sue while they're here? Go ahead.
I just wanted to point something out, that $1 million that you got at Western, I was in the picture holding one of the zeros.
Very
cool. And did you graduate? Yay!
A beneficiary.
You made my day. Yeah, we had students lined up, and that was, if you knew Joy Bora. Joy was the best marketing mind I ever knew. She had people with these little tote baby things that Western had, and they pulled out a number. $1, comma. What were you? A zero?
I was a 0.
Okay.
Nothing
else personality.
So you are why he did what he did.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lived and breathed Western
Cool.
as a non-traditional student.
Cool, class, all right.
All right.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for
Thanks,
coming, and
everybody.
thanks again, Gary and Sue.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on.
All right, see you next time here.
Bye,